To testing. Hello and happy Monday evening, everybody that may be tuning in. I don't usually go live around this time. I just celebrated my daughter's 28th birthday over the weekend, and I'm back at home. Shout outs to all my webcam models and my newbies that are coming aboard. Um, Thank you for the new subbies. But I wanted to talk about what's been on my heart a lot lately, and that's capacity. Without sounding like a parrot to everything else that is going on in social media, but truly having the capacity. And if you guys hear my fan in the background, that's my what is it? My air purifier, and I have the silly fan on. And I'm running the AC. It's a lot going on. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. But um, having the capacity, right, to give. And what I've had to learn in my life, you guys, is as a natural, I want to say I'm a natural giver, to get to the point. When I say natural giver, I can go back as far as 5 and 6 years old, and my great grandmother telling me and warning me in her own little way, depending on what age I was, of me taking the stuff that she would give me, whether it was an extra cookie or extra whatever, and rushing, here's the key word here, y'all, rushing to go give it to another child. And I've carried that with me for years. I'm 49 years old. The giving part of me, it just comes natural. Nobody left behind has always been my motto. I like to believe it's a part of my calling, but I've lived a life where those spaces and places in me have been, of course, natural. I want to say naturally taken advantage of. I'm not the only one. I don't think I'm any more specialer than anybody else. But what I do know, and I'm still learning, as I am a neurodivergent woman. I always put emphasis there, whereas registering people's intent is not my first gift. It's just not. I am one of those persons, also being an Aquarius, I'm also one of those persons who believe that, humans are naturally good. I really believe that. I think that it's life that takes us through the ringer. And this is why, according to my daughter, I am the queen of excuses for people. I was the queen for excuses for my ex-husband. I can always give the excuse to the victim, to the wounded one, and always just kind of, see the good in people. I mean, I really enjoy seeing the good in people. It's not that I need to see it. I just really like knowing that people overall, I believe, are good by nature, right? So I say all that to say, uh, capacity. Oh my gosh, the ability to give though, in spaces where I needed to read the room, read the facial expression, read the body language a little closer, and not being able to do that right away. So what had happened, y'all, I ended up giving of myself in situations, people, places, and things where they doesn't didn't mean they were evil, but they just didn't have the capacity to hold it, And so here I am, as I was thinking about the analogy earlier, what I would use, and I thought about Spider-Man. I'm gonna go there, y'all. I know this is my adult content page, but I think we all know what's up with Spider-Man. We all know of the character, right? So how it came to me, I was like, okay, capacity. Spider-Man, when he first starts out, for those that don't know, that first Spider-Man is my favorite. Was having that conversation with my grandbaby the other day. It's probably why I'm using this as an example. He likes the latest Spider-Man. Of course, he's 7 years old. I like the freaking the old school Spider-Man, right? The one, at least I think that's the old school one, the first one that came out, right? When he kisses Mary Jane upside down. Yeah, that one. Anyway, so so I'm thinking of Spider-Man, and I'm like, okay, when we first watched that movie, we noticed that when he first got bit, it was new to him. He was excited. He was like, "Oh, yay!" He was scared and excited. Then he tried to test out his web, right? He would just kept moving his wrist. I think it was by accident he did it, right? And he realized that he had a web shooter. And so he's testing it out. And then he's testing it out on things that make things fall over. When he's in school, I think it starts he just starts embarrassing himself. It's a lot going on because he has yet to learn what to attach his web to. Oh my good God. He has yet to learn what exactly can sustain him and hold his weight. because he still doesn't know he can fly or whatever he do, dangle across buildings, right? When he leap from here to there, he still doesn't know that yet. I think in the movie, right? So, but at school, he's clumsy. He attached it to the food tray, I believe it was, of the bully, and that caused the scene. So again, this was new to him. I think it was the second day returning back to school. He's around different people. He doesn't know what's going on with him. He's unsure of himself. He's under this new identity, y'all. So he don't know who the hell he is. He knows he's Peter Parker, but is he? You get me where I'm going with this. And so part of it is identity, right? Okay, I'm in this new identity. I'm in this new environment. I got some extra stuff on me now. I got an extra gift. I like giving. I like talking to people. I like getting to know people. This is me personally. Ooh, there goes some people. This is the neurodivergent part of me, actually. There goes some people. I can make some friends. Well, not really friends, but at least I can chit chat for a little while. Come to find out, I get to chit chat and, you know, I'm testing out my web, so to speak. And I realize in a conversation, I'm amongst, let's say, two or three women. Don't let it be sitting in front of a man, because this is where it really has shocked me throughout the years, right? But sitting up with women who I'm like, well, we look the same, we act the same, I think we're kind of the same. It's kind of that same thing as I'm thinking about Spider-Man, where he has to reach out and he's like, oh, there's a building, that's a building, I can try and put my web onto anything and see if it holds. No, you cannot, Spider-Man. Your ass is going to fall to the damn ground, right? Or you're going to tear down the building or whatever you think you can leap from. So me, in a conversation with people who on the surface, because this is where I'm going, y'all, on the surface is good. On the surface, we're talking about clothes, we're talking about shoes, we're talking about our dreams to travel the world. Maybe it won't even probably get that deep. In some cases, even if I mention the mere the mere mention of traveling, they looking at me like, huh, what? Ooh, really? I mean, I've had those situations too in my life where I mentioned something that seems out of reach to, not to me necessarily, but it's out of reach to the person I'm speaking to. But remember, all I wanted to do was just give my opinion, share a conversation, pour into them. I'm assuming they're going to pour back into me. We're going to vibe. But I realize we're only vibing on the surface, just like Spider-Man. He realizes, oh gosh, I can't just attach this to, I don't know. Let me think, y'all. What can't Spider-Man attach something to that is not going to hold his weight? I'm trying to think. Not buildings, something else that he would attach himself to in practice and still fall on the damn ground. So with practice, I've had to learn before I put out this web, just like Spider-Man, he would test it first. He would wiggle his little wrist a little bit. He would see how much weight what would be. He would put his feet up on from what I remember, I think he put his feet up on the ledge of one building, right? He's holding on to that, his web. He's like, okay, I'm gonna try it. And he feels he got a good grip, and then he starts swinging. Now, the only thing he had to do next is just concentrate on not hitting the building, but at least he got the first thing down pat. He understands, oh gosh, this building can hold me. Okay, it can hold me, but where is it gonna take me while it's holding me? That's a whole nother revelation, right? Okay, we got something in common. This man likes the same clothing I like. He likes this, he likes that. We can have deep conversation, but where the hell is this going? I've been there too. Where are you taking me with all of this depth that you seem to have in comparison to other situations or conversations or me pouring myself into people? Where are we just talking to just talk? So if you guys get what I'm saying, I've had to learn and continuously learn. Can people hold my depth? And then the intention behind while they're holding it. Can we give and take? Can it be a genuine give and take? And that has literally been the battle I've been going through in my personal life of practicing, even as a neurodivergent woman, as a believer, but practicing enough awareness, self-awareness, quote unquote discernment. And I say quote unquote discernment because, again, being neurodivergent, I may not always get I got it right away. Even as a believer, right? I may not always get it like that. There are things I have to pay attention to. And the number one thing that I've had to pay attention to, just like Spider-Man, I've had to pay attention to how it feels to me Once I got a grip on it, once I'm in a conversation, like how he holds on to the web or whatever, he got to make sure that it's sturdy enough. How does he test to see? Well, he don't just leap out there. He tests it first. He tested a little bit. Then when he feels confident, it comes from confidence too, right? And then he's like, okay, this building can hold me. And then he finds another building similar to that. It doesn't have to be the exact. And then it keeps it. The point is this: those buildings are not there for a long time for him. Those buildings are there to get him to where he's trying to get to. He's trying to leap bounds to get to, I don't know, the next city over, for example, right? He's not, if that's the case, he could just walk, right? If it's that close. But he's got places to go. Spider-Man got places to go. So what am I saying, y'all? For me, I've had to learn and continuously learn whatever I latch myself to, you know, understanding that it's temporary, understanding that it may not have the capacity to hold me. So in other words, I might be standing and talking to a person or person talking to me, and the conversation don't go no further past 2 to 5 minutes. You know, that's it. That's all it could hold. That's all it could stand. I don't care how pretty the woman was that I was talking to. I don't care how handsome the guy was. I don't care how well dressed they were. If they can, if they can't hold me, I can't hold them. They can't hold me. We're just holding a conversation, literally, right at this point. So what do I do? What do I try to do? You know, and this is not even. I'm not even. Chat GBT didn't got nothing to do with this right here. This is just a free flow, y'all. It's just to be able to. I think for me is again paying attention to how I feel, practicing enough, also coming to the conclusion that that it's rare, right? Let's go there with rarity. It's rare to find people that you can pour into and they have the same cup or similar cup, full enough to pour back into you. You know, my biggest thing that God has been really working on me with, you guys, is the company you keep. I know it's cliche, but I've been really, really saying it over and over and over and over and over again to myself. Janae, it's the company you keep. Online, when you're logged in to your webcamming, it's the company you keep. When you are out and about in public, talking to folks, it's the company you keep. Remember, I said, even if that company is just for 2 minutes at a bus stop, it's still the company you keep. Can they hold the capacity? Can they hold your vision with you? You know, because even though a lot of people say, oh, well, they're not going to be able to see it because it's not their vision. No, there are some people that can kind of they don't have to see everything. After all, you may not see everything, but doesn't mean a person can't encourage you. It ain't nothing like somebody saying, girl, I don't understand at all what you going for. I never heard of that. But hey, and not just that I do you type of mode, but it's that genuine encouragement. Like, let me know how that turns out. I'm excited for you. What do you need? You need some support? I'll get your flyers made. Maybe I'm there. I go being over the top optimistic. But what I am saying is that yeah, this thing has had me in a chokehold, you guys, as it relates to how I do everything, how I come here and teach, quote unquote, teach my webcam newbie or oldie women in the industry. It really has made me think because I have so many things and so many things to want to share and talk about the depths of it in my own way. It doesn't mean that it's so rare that other people are not talking about it. I want to put the emphasis there. I'm not that different, I'm not that much of a weirdo. But it is a place where I just really am going through understanding, like, wow, capacity. And when I look over my life again at 49 years old, I go, some people just literally could not hold what I was giving, whether it was love. And I'll tell you why. Let's go here. What happens is when they can't hold it, right? Just like with Spider-Man, the wall or the brick or the building will fall. And unfortunately, what I've learned is that when people didn't have capacity to hold me, they fell, and I fell right along with them. Can I say it again, y'all? Right? When people did not have the capacity to hold me or you, hold you, right, they will fall. Not necessarily fail, but they will fall, and you will fall right along with them. Doesn't mean they're evil. It just does. It means that they can't hold you like that. They, they can't hold you up like that. When I think about me as an Aquarius, right? And I think about the symbol or the symbolism behind being an Aquarius, or the actual woman standing at what I guess is the ocean with her vase or vase, and she's pouring out emotions, but the ocean is behind her most times. That means she has a big old ocean to dip from, to carry, then carry that capacity that's in that big old vase to pour out onto humanity. I'm not saying that's all of me. That'd be saying a bit much. That sounds kind of like some heavy work. I don't want that work to feel that heavy, Lord. Please ease up off the pressure. But if I look at the symbolic, symbolism behind it, I'm able to see her pouring out all of this, and she never runs out, is what I'm saying. But just because a person never runs out of giving, don't mean that they're not tired. Oh, I got giving for days. I swear I do. It's the way God built me. I have a giving capacity for days. I can talk and give. I can encourage and give. I can encourage people's socks off. I can give financially when God allows that to sprinkle down from the heavens for me. I don't have a problem with giving, but it doesn't mean that I don't get tired of giving to, you know where I'm about to go, just like Spider-Man. After a while, he caught on, and he got tired of falling. He got tired of tripping. He got tired. He's like, you know what? Let me. In fact, I think he even started practicing late at night. I think it's one scene where he's like, he waited till the whole city or neighborhood was asleep, and then he got on the building and started practicing so he could get to himself. You know how I always tell you guys, get to yourself by yourself? Because when you get to yourself by yourself, you're able to practice, you're able to reflect, you're able to go back and say, you know what? Okay, what's up with my web shooter? Because his web shooter wasn't broken. Ooh, I like that right there, y'all. His web shooter was not freaking broken. Okay? It wasn't broken. Not in the least. Not in the least. It wasn't broken. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. No, it wasn't broken. But what was going on is that he just did not know where to aim it at properly. I guess there's three parts to it if we think about capacity. You got to know if the person can hold, but how are you going to know that? You got to test it, right? He had to test his web, pointing it at certain things, seeing what did what. He must have. He had to test it over and over and over again. And then he perfected it in his own way. Because if you notice anything about Spider-Man, my grandbaby was telling me, Grammy, there's like so many Spider-Mans in the Spider-Verse. I'm like, oh, okay. I was just used. I'm still sticking to the first one, the one, or at least the ones from the comics back in the day, because I'm older, But when it got over to the Spider-Verse, I was like, who is this? Who is Miguel? I got right now. I'm sitting in my little area where my grandbaby's fish is at, and my little items and knickknacks. uh Miguel is sitting up there, and I'm like, is my grandbaby gonna come back and get this? I didn't know he was a Spider-Man or whatever he's supposed to be. But my point is that different types of Spider-Man, right? Different types of people, different types of the way we go about our gifts, the way we go about our giving, it's just been a huge journey for me, man, to just be like, whoa. uh Even so much so, here goes the bizarre or strange part of me. Like, I thought about on Sundays, right? I was like thinking about doing Sunday prayer for webcam models. I really thought that. I said, gosh, I am so freaky. I'm such a weirdo, and I would enjoy doing that. I really would. I felt moved to do it. But it is a little, what's it called? Unorthodox, I guess you'd call it. I don't know, little out there. But I did think that, and I said, well, of course, us webcam models need that. We need prayer. We need any woman in the industry. And I don't care if she's walking the blade, And we're not talking about prayer as a judgment, that whole, God come save us. No, but prayer to protect us while we're in it, again. But that takes me understanding the capacity of people that would be ready to hear that, receive that. People can hear things all day long, but will they receive it in the way that I'm delivering it? Another thing I had to learn too, if I can't, not everybody's gonna like me, that part, right? Because there was a time in my life I was wanting everybody to just like me, because I like being liked, and I like for people to like themselves, and we just all should just love and like each other. I really had that bad. And again, going back to capacity, I have loved people that hated me for loving them, and then the more I tried to love them, the more they hated me. Oh my God. I mean, we talking about life threatening, want to take me off out of this realm onto the next because of their hatred that ran so deeply, because the love or the patience or whatever it is that I shown them, they didn't believe it. Or and again, capacity. And I'm like, whoa, you know, I've had to, whew, I'm really going around about all of this without giving much detail, y'all, because that's another thing I've had to learn regarding social media, regarding people who tune in and listen. You never know who's listening, and that's not to be paranoid. I'm just learning to self protect and to self preserve, even as I'm long winded, you know. And again, I felt moved to come on and talk about capacity, and as to even talk back to myself and say, Jay, not everybody, okay? Not everybody's going to have, you know, and let me go here. People can know your story. They can know. A lot of times, you guys will hear me talk about that I was a foster child, right? You hear me talk almost in everything I say. I'll say I was raised by my great grandparents. There is a part of me where I'm beginning to come to the terms with, I give the backstory a lot, because I'm in hopes that wherever God takes me, wherever, I don't know if it's an approval thing as much as it is, like everybody has that story when they finally make it kind of thing, where they want to give their story of what's it called, hard knock life. It's that, because a lot of times in my life I've gone through things because people thought I had it better than them. I on my life, y'all, on my children, I say these things. You get what I'm saying? Like, I have gone through things where people literally thought I had it so much better than them. So now I almost feel like I have to tell people, guess what? I was in foster care. Please, please, please. I promise. I'm not trying to outshine you. I was a foster kid. I promise to God. And it seems like the more they know of the struggle I had, it don't matter. Can I say it again, y'all? The more they know what you had to go through to get, even if the proof is in the pudding of what you went through. You know what I'm saying? You're still in your recovery mode. You could have, Lord forbid, just got in a car accident. And if you were a beautiful, pretty, pretty woman, I'm just saying that this is a very simple explanation. I mean, example. You just got in a car accident, you're walking on a limp, you survived, you're not paralyzed. And people still are like, she must think she all that because the doctors, oh my God. Because the doctors, what do doctors do, Hal? Because the doctors removed her stitches within 5 days. I don't know. And it's just this continued awakening, y'all, that I continue to have, because I didn't always see it, and I didn't know that people could uh hate you because you love. And I didn't know people, would know your backstory, would know your history. You would sit and explain to them, and this is even in relationships with men. They would, let's just call it for what it is, trauma dump. And I didn't know people were in competition when it comes to trauma. Well, how you went through that? Well, I went through this, and it sounds like, I'm like, huh? I'm not trying to be in competition of who had it worse. I'm just telling my story. I wanted to let you know I'm just as human as you are. That's all I'm saying. I have had to sit up and really evaluate me, and not and the truth is, as we go through these things, we will sit and question what we're doing wrong. It happens. You'll be like, dang, is something wrong with me? Did I do something bad? Like Steve Urkel, did I do that? You know, and you'll constantly think it's something going on with you, right? And so I am in the spirit of, uh, I guess, an awakening. You know, you can have, I mean, when it comes to spirituality, I'm spirit woman first. So I've had many spiritual awakenings, and my main one began when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. This is what draws me so close to God in the way that I'm drawn to being a believer, because my already young childhood experiences with the Creator. So even while, again, I'm a woman in the adult entertainment field and have been for 31 years, I don't go anywhere where God doesn't dwell, where He's not at the forefront of what I'm about to do. I don't care what it is. Sinning, my flesh, I just have to. It's a must, and it comes from a place of, again, I'm a child who was not raised by a mother and father. So, as the way my grandmother raised me was a place of independence for me to understand that I'm not going to have, in other words, it was like her mode was kind of like, this is it, pumpkin, this is it, this is where the world stops after me. And this is my great grandmother. So when I grew up with knowing I would have to do it myself, right? I grew up knowing, not that I was the strong one. We're not talking about strength. I'm talking about just, you could be independent and still be weak. Okay, you could be super independent and still be, I would say, weak-minded in the sense, if you will, easily misled, naive and gullible. Independent, responsible. You can pay all your bills on time, have your own apartment, have you a nice car, and all that, and still, right, lack spiritual maturity, emotional maturity, all those things to be considered. So I have gone through things, like I said to you guys before, in the last 4 months, and I'm just now coming out of it, and I've just been awoken, to just so much, and I'm careful now with how I move. I think my YouTube, just bring it down to earth. My YouTube has probably been, out of all social media, YouTube has always been my safe haven. It has. It always been that place where I could just, I don't care too much about the subscribers. I don't, I just feel like I can go there and express. And I feel like it's so huge to where it's just little old me, like kind of like this thing, like, this may sound a little strange for y'all, but where I can kind of hide away a little bit better in YouTube, if that makes sense. Whereas TikTok is, boom, 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 is fast paced. Instagram obviously is pictures and food and travel, and it's out there. YouTube is just kind of like, hey, you guys, I posted a video, come check it out. It's longer form, it's more intimate, right? It's a lot more intimate for me. And believe it or not, I've been on YouTube off and on for 20 years. I remember when Miss Shura 7 first started. So, yeah, I've been following for a while. But I say all that to say, capacity, man. Just having, uh, I mean, just because I can hold it, whatever that may be, as the Aquarius that I am, doesn't mean that other people can, and it doesn't mean other people want to, right? People don't have to get their information resources, especially to my webcam models that are listening. Y'all do not have to look to me for inspiration or whatever. In fact, I don't even, yeah, don't look for me to, because I might be missing in action for a whole week or a month or two or whatever. Who's to say? You just never know with me. But for those that do tune in whenever I'm on, who value whatever it is or get something out of it, can receive it, that do have the capacity for it. I would say this: stick around. There's more to come. Little cowgirl humor, bleh. But no, there is so much more to come. There's so much more that I am going to be opening up and talking about and sharing, bolder than before. And I don't even know if it's a bold mode as much as it is, I think it's Exoticals United, a community group that I follow. I think she used to say this. I don't even know if she says anymore, but she used to say, who's going to stop me? Something she would say. I think it's who's going to stop me? But it's the truth, So I am hopeful for uh, this next chapter that God is taking me through. Um, building up my discernment muscle, right? That kind of thing. Making sure that I stay in a place where I don't ever get beside myself. You know, remembering, and I think the whole foster home, going back to foster, being a foster kid thing, that's also to help me too. There is nothing about my story I'm ashamed of. There's a pride there too. There's nothing about my story that I'm ashamed of at all. Being a runaway in the city of Los Angeles, I'm not ashamed or embarrassed about that. Um, I've had so many full circle moments. I've had so many freaking full circle moments. Like when I went out to Beverly Hills, for those that didn't know that story, and I went to La La Land, and going out to that very poshy. I mean, it's super popular on Instagram, right? Is where a lot of content creators go, and me walking in there feeling like I didn't belong because it was where the money's at, and I'm not that girl like that. I'm not that it girl, so to speak, right? Going in there and then going back home. For those that didn't hear the story, and then feeling I liked the place. Let me say that, liked the place, but didn't feel like I belonged in the place. And then I went back home, did the research, and found out that La La Land was created in 19, it's a cafe, by the way, you guys, it's a coffee shop, but it was created back in 1994, no, 95, when I was in high school, to help the youth that was in foster care transition out of foster care to giving them jobs. And I often tease and joke and say, wow, if I had have known that, I wouldn't have became a phone sex operator at 18 years old. But I still like doing that though too. I probably would have did both, worked at La La Land and the little cafe, and also but still did my little phone acting gig. That's what I call it, right? On the side. So when I think about my journey, again, the full circle moments, that's part of it. That's definitely part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, you guys. Um, I just came to hop on to express, hopefully you guys got something out of this. I don't know. I'm just in a mood. That's all. A mood of expression. In fact, earlier, I've been just getting these downloads all day today. That's what you guys call them? But for the most part, even earlier today, I wanted to talk on, what was it? People that are, it was, I'm trying to think. It was just because a person protects you and provides for you doesn't mean they love you. It has no association to do with love. Love is separate. But a lot of times people, especially men, right? Just to give you guys a little tidbit. Men are like, oh, but I bought this, I bought that, or I protect you, I protect my family. But we know that that is not all the means. I just don't think it's a means of love at all. People go, well, that's one way people show it, but it's really not. I think protection and vision is more about ego than it is anything else. I really, really, really do. Even for me as being a mother, and being a single mother that I was, it was about my motherhood being protected and my ego. It was about control and painting a narrative that I'm a good mother. It was all of that. It really didn't have anything to do with love. I mean, just it really didn't. It was also too. I'm a provide for my children because I have to carry this badge because I didn't have a mother. My mother wasn't in my life, so I'm going to really show up for mine. It was that. And sometimes even my youngest son said that I sometimes showed up overwhelmingly. He's like, Mom, you could be. What did he tell me? Mom, sometimes you could be a little. This was like 3 years ago. He was like, Mom, sometimes you could be a little bit. Oh no, he said overbearing. I said, well, I'd rather be overbearing than underbearing. And we all, every time I tell them that, we just bust up laughing because, I mean, they're used to, of course, that that's the way their mother is. And they have an understanding and an insight on why I am the way that I am. Um, I mean, it's no excuse, but it gives a absolute reason of why I take much pride in being a mother because I feel like me personally, it's my story. It's a story coming from a place of a woman who didn't have one. I often remind my daughter, even the most jokingly way, that I didn't, I'll often say to her, well, daughter, I really don't know what that feels like because I don't know. I mean, that's how far detached I am from being from because I didn't have a role. Let me put it this way. I got to be clear before I just want to be clear about it. My great grandmother raised me. I didn't miss no love. I was called the favorite of her great grandchildren. You know, somebody even said spoiled. All these things, right? But not having a mother, I now, because I am a mother who has a daughter, I now see the huge impact of I can see the difference, in other words, of not having one. Because for years I was like, I didn't need no mama. I didn't need no mama. I had my nana. I had my nana. I got my grandpa, right? That was my mode. But then as my daughter got older, especially when she reached adulthood, I was like, wow. Then when she was going through or whatever she has gone through, and me to be available to her with mother's love versus granny's love, because I think there's a different type of love, how that shows up, right? uh, I'll put it this way: for me even being a grandmother myself right now, um, I often say to myself, or even remind my daughter, I say, "Remember, daughter, you came first. That's my grandson. I love him to pieces. He's my only grandson, but she's my only daughter." You get what I'm saying, y'all? And so when I look at the dynamic of my life, I go, I can only do what I think is the best thing to do to pour in. And then some might say, well, all parents go to do that. Even when people do have parents, it's a struggle. But then again, me being raised by my great grandmother, running away when I was 13 years old, going through that, and then having other mothers be in my, or mother figures be in my life. So I've had I've had enough experience around what mothership looks like to kind of know what it looks like. You get what I'm saying? To perform it, if you will. You know, but it's nothing like actually. Obviously, she's my biological daughter. Her birthday was yesterday. She's 28, and I thought about, you know, it was an emergency C-section I had, right? So it wasn't like, oh my God, I was in labor for hours. It was emergency. I could have lost her, obviously, an emergency C-section. She's my only C-section, and that in itself causes it. For those that mothers who've ever had a C-section and had your babies that way, it's a different type of bond, especially when it's an emergency. Okay, so it's a different type, and she's my only baby girl. I have two other boys. So my point is this: motherhood. But not only just motherhood, just life, and just me trying to be, I guess, the best human being possible for myself first. That heavy on the first, and then hoping, as the Aquarius that I am, that it'll just pour out gracefully and sweetly onto people who not necessarily, I won't say deserve it, but people who can hold the capacity, you know, that in which I give it. In other words, I've been called extra. I've been called deep. I've been called, my ex used to call me the Oracle of Janae. You know, he used to tease me all the time. I don't want to be teased for being deep or being profound spiritually or caring very much about people. I don't want to be teased or taunted because of that, you know, or made fun of because of that. And it happens, it still happens, even at 49 years old. That's the little tidbit. I still go through it. It shows up in a different way, but I still get my teasing from sometimes family members. Sometimes, you know, even my kids will say certain things, you know, and so I'm like, wow. But like all families and situations, you, as my grandma used to say, you don't let people's misunderstanding of you stop you from what God has called you to do, you know. And I know for me, I'm not going to do it in a way that everybody else is going to find it sanctified, normal, you know. I'm just gonna rock out with it. But what I do think is gonna begin to happen, I think what the egg is hatching, I think what's coming up and coming out in me is a woman who is gonna be extremely unapologetic. And nowadays, I'm only looking for a specific tribe, or not even looking. I know they'll come to me. I know God will bring them, God will send them forth, you know. I think one part of what I specifically want right here at my YouTube channel for my webcam models and for women that are in the industry, um, is to really, really know just how much God loves them. And I think, and again, not preachy, not coming from a space of a judgment, but that I am very much in this business. And, and I want to be openly candid about prayer and going to church on Sunday. And now, when it comes to my public finessing, y'all, I'm not going to be camming in the church. I'm not going to be camming in the church house. Okay. I'm just, okay, I do. It's about respect at the end of the day. I'm a woman. I like to think I'm still a woman of integrity, and God has already given me enough grace as it is. I'm not going to push it to the limit like Scarface and them. I think that's the song. Push it to the limit. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, you see what happened to him because he pushed it to the limit. That's not something I want to do. I take my faith with God seriously. I know I'm His. Um, hmm. I know that in this flesh, I am who I am as an actress in the world of adult entertainment. And it's interesting that I gotta come back and just do a whole nother video on this. It's so interesting how, if you think about it, women who were deemed as witches and 304s appear to have, I could be wrong here, but according to even what I sense in the spirit, to have so much love for Jesus, and for God. But you get what I'm saying? Like, we really do be loving the Lord, like really for real, loving God. I mean, for the most of us, that I've experienced. Biggest 304s all on the blade, but really, truly have a relationship with God, And I think people who've gone through things, not necessarily bad things, but things that are different things. Let's go there, right, y'all? People who have gone through different things in life, we show up different to the Lord. In fact, the Bible says, in one of my favorite scriptures, it says, what is it? The Lord God basically chooses the stranger things to conform the world. So there's a lot of times where it's stuff that people deem as sinful, bad, whatever. And God is like, no, I can use this. You get what I'm saying? I'm a firm believer that God will meet us right where we're at. Good, bad, ugly. And some might say, well, that just opens up the door for all kind of sin, all kind of this. And that I can't speak for everybody else's stuff that they got. I can only speak based on the stones that have been thrown to me. So when I look at my life and I go, this is how, maybe this is not the greatest advice, but I would say maybe a little bit of advice. Look at your life and say, whatever you, again, same thing, kind of principle I said with webcam models, whatever you were teased about, had stones thrown at you about, the main thing that people pick on you about, bullied you about, made fun of you about, say condescending things, whatever the case is, that's where your superpower is. That also can be a part of your calling. So when I think about being in this industry for 31 years, I go, I know damn well, heaven well, that why I'm in this business this dang on long is still for a mighty purpose and a mighty reason. And if you notice, I never speak on or trying to get anybody saved. I never speak from that framework. I don't think that's where God is taking me. It's the same thing as being a certified palm reader. There is many things that are going to be about you as well that people are not going to get, and it's going to go against every tradition, religion, the way the job normally, it's like coming on a new job and they're like, well, we don't do that over here. We normally do this, that, and the other. And then the person wonders why their business is not not booming, so you come onto the job and you suggest, hey, well, maybe we should offer this or this and this and that and the third. I've been in those situations, and it made me realize, and I wasn't trying to go in there and take over and be a boss, but when I get inspired thought, I want to share it, right? And again, going back to capacity, good God Almighty, I look back on my life, how many jobs I had, because I've had a few regular jobs. You know, remember, I was in telemarketing as well, and going into places and spaces where they don't want you to change nothing, don't come in here rearranging, no, don't give nobody else no ideas. I've always been that person that had not been accepted for that. Don't come in the family trying to have us all love each other, because it ain't gonna happen. So guess what I did? I had to fall back, because I've been in many situations where my ideas were not accepted, where my thinking, my thought process, my mindset, my heart set was not accepted. I was rejected for thinking or feeling or being different over and over and over. This is why it don't matter how pretty a person may be or sexy or attractive, but when I open this big mouth of mine, the things that the thoughts and the ideas and that I've shared with people, and I'm not talking about people stealing my stuff. My stuff sometimes have been so out there, nobody would even dare steal it, because it's like, ain't nobody trying to do that weird shit, Janae. You get me? So for me, again, capacity is so very huge for me for the season where God has me. Really keeping a keen eye out, a spiritual eye out, making sure, in closing, like Spider-Man, is this strong enough for me to, before I fling out my last web? Well, I never run out. Remember, I said that earlier. Before I fling out my web and attach it to this person, and attach it to these people, and attach it to this job, and attach it to even my children, will they have the capacity to hold me? Not because I necessarily need them. Remember with Spider-Man, he needs it just for a minute. I don't mean to be so temporal about things, but again, he got places to go. So he's only attaching himself there just because he's trying to get somewhere. After all, and remember, y'all, he's a superhero. So he's doing it for the good of mankind, right? It's not like he's just this narcissist he just want to attach himself to the buildings because he just like flying in the air because he thinks he's Billy Badass. There is a storyline behind why he has to go do what he has to do, because some issues going on, and he became, what is it called, what's the thing called, a vigilante? Yeah. So I guess this whole live was inspired by my great grandbaby, because we had a heavy conversation this weekend about Spider-Man. That's probably why it was in my subconscious, but it makes sense to me, y'all. So again, that's what I am in the way of practicing a little bit more of, is um, I'm not here for the likes. I'm not here to the approval. I'm not here for the comments. Forgive me how that comes across, y'all, if you understand what I'm saying. I'm really here to see where God is continuing to take me in every single thing that I do, in webcamming, in YouTube, on my Instagram, in my personal life, with my children, with the men. I had my, this is a whole nother story. I have to come back because I'm just rambling at this point. But had an ex call me up this Sunday, this weekend. I'm going through it, y'all. Just really holding my ground and regarding, again, capacity. I just thank God that even this live is not motivated by him for the first time ever. Because a lot of times we get our juice, our inspiration to come and do content from basically our day-to-day lives, right? Especially to the people who have podcasts and who are talkers, who take folks on their real life story times and journeys and things of that nature. But I mean, I have him texting me, oh hey, I'm getting off of work. Will you what did he say? Hey, I'm getting off of work. I didn't even see. And back in the day, I would remember that text just like that. But now he's irrelevant to me. I mean, hell, if another person who does not have the capacity, the mental capacity, as an Aquarius, I can't stand ignorant men. Ignorant women, I give a pass. I don't know, because most times we're told to not speak or talk anyway. You know what I'm saying? But a man sounding dumb as hell, like I can't do it. But I can't do it. I can't do it. So my ex, texted me talking about some, I just got off work, want some company. I didn't even respond. And I used to be crazy about this man, y'all. Didn't even freaking respond. For what? Will not respond. I went through the ringer. I'm just trusting the Lord at this point. I should have been trusting him, but you get what I'm saying when we like to take things in our own hands and blah blah blah. But I'm like, no, Lord, I need you, God, in every aspect of my life at this point because of the stuff that went down in the last 3 months, 4 months of my life. I it, it confirmed that we are in a spiritual battle. We are in a spiritual warfare. And I was one of those persons that no, 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 no spiritual warfare, because I feel like if I kept saying it, I'd bring more to me. But it ain't nothing like just going ahead, calling a thing, and then going about your business. You ain't got to sit, I don't have to sit and dwell on it. But I really realized, and for this man to text me, I said, this ain't nobody but the devil. This is nobody but Satan. Call it with that dark energy, whatever you want to call it. Trickery, whatever. And again, I don't necessarily think he's evil. We had fun together. We had good old fun time together. But I'm like, okay, sex was awesome, and I'm still like, okay, what after that, and what? Like, what are we like, huh? Like, come on, bro. Now I sound like the young folks, like my babies. My daughter be like, bro. Oh my God. So when I think about, just men wanting to pop up and just be all in my business, and I call it biscuitness, my baby voice. Be all in my biscuitness. Like, I don't want you in my business. You weren't in my business. I haven't talked to this man for whoever's here listening to me ramble. I haven't talked to this man in 5 freaking months. I've known him for going on 7 years. It's not even I can't even call it a situation. I think it was Miss Patty, if she's still here. I don't know if she came through, but she said she was going through something, one of my followers. But as it relates to situationships, I've been there. I'll talk about it maybe later on. But when you're going through and you're going through your awakening, the last thing you need to do is have people sitting in your face. Remember what I said earlier, the company you keep, have people sitting in your face who do not have the capacity to hold, not because you're going through trauma, but hold enough space for you. Because what I didn't realize is that even though I'm going through my quote unquote another awakening, because there's levels to it, I suppose, um, the people that I thought should have been already past quote unquote a certain amount of level, that's another thing too. Sitting in the company of people who, primarily men, I'm specifically speaking on this guy, who primarily was not it. And it's just this thing of like, it's a lot to be said. It is a lot to be said, man. Um, because if you don't have anything to give me of what I deem to be worthwhile, not what society thinks, not what my daughter thinks I should have, not what my sisters think I should have, not what nobody else, what God wants me to have. If you cannot meet me on the level of where God is taking me, and taking me is mental first for me more than anything else. If you're not there working on being there, and I guess this is the typical conversation for 40 and over people anyway. So what I'm saying is not foreign. It's very common, especially nowadays because of social media. There is a collective, what is it called, awakening amongst the cisgendered women. It's just to be politically correct. And so this cisgendered woman is just simply saying no mas, like like I'm bored. Like, yeah, stimulating conversations needs to be, no, forget stimulating conversations, because we had stimulating conversations and we had stimulating sex. There has to be more. Stimulation doesn't mean, come on, thank you, God. Stimulation does not mean depth. Just because it feels exciting and whoa, this is nice, this is very wild and it's exciting, it's playful, and we laugh. Okay, it's like the firecrackers on 4th of July. You know what I'm saying? Boom, 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 firecrackers. It's always a great analogy when you talk about chemistry, right? Firecrackers are sparking. You get some duds every now and again, but for the most part. And then after 4th of July, you'll hear a few more after that. Some people still pop them around Christmas time, but just saying, normally, it starts to cease on down. And then you say, okay, well, party's over, show's over, people, they didn't sweep up all the freaking fireworks off the freaking ground or picked it up, or it got, you know what I'm saying? The wind blew it away. However, there's no evidence left. And a lot of times our relationships are like that, or situationships. There will be no evidence left to the side chick, right? Just saying, there usually could be no evidence left, of that person investing, or that there ever was a party, or that there ever was excitement. When I think about, let me look around my apartment right quick. Oh, this is so good for me, Jesus. Let me look around in my apartment. Is there anything in my apartment right now that I could look at and feel inspired because this man came here to my apartment? Is there anything that he bought me that I still have here? No. Is there anything that I could look at my bed and go, okay, but no, I'm not. When you wake up, ain't nothing like. In fact, the Bible says to the man that God sets free is free indeed. And the woman. It doesn't say and the woman, but yeah, um, it's free indeed. So, and it's something. Once we get past it, y'all. I don't care what it is. Relationship, dealing. People often ask me when I got on my TikTok and I got my most of my following came from talking about narcissistic abuse way before. I have to say it. A lot of people got to say it these days. Way before I even knew that that's what it was, right? When I first got on, I think this was a little bit before the pandemic, and I was talking maybe 2018, 2019, and I was talking about. I didn't call it narcissist, but talking about it, and then I went into it, and then connected the dots, and I said, "What the hell?" But a lot of people ask me, "How did I got over my narcissist? How did you get over him? What did you do? What did you do?" And for me, personally, I rebelled. But for me, rebellion is returning to self, because that's the nature of who I am as an Aquarius. Usually, if I, for me to conform into, especially a man, and I don't mean to sound sexist in that way, but especially to, or, the battle of the sexes, but for me to conform to a man, that takes a lot of effort on my part for me to be submissive, or it just takes a lot of effort because I know I'm a mission bound woman. Like I'm mission bound minded. You see what I'm saying? Like visionary minded. Even if I don't have the actions or the what's it called? The accolades or even the degrees or whatever people call of that proof as of yet, my mindset has always been, how can we make this world a better place? That is literally me. I mean, you would see if you if you looked up how we make this world a better place, define it, you would see my picture, That is literally my ultimate goal. So when I'm sitting with people and sitting in a relationship with a man and that's not their thing, all we can have is just sex. All we can do is do the do and go out and eat and all these things. And now I'm at an age where I don't, and you know what I'm about to say? I'm about to say the typical, I'm gonna sound like everybody else, y'all. I don't need you. I want you. And then once I come to the place where I don't even want you because I just want my, I'm going to say here too, my peace. Let me tell you why I decided not to text that man back. This is one of the main reasons. He didn't really do anything quote unquote bad because I'm over him as it relates to me, my expectation I had in him. I had an expectation in him, like, like a lot of women, we have expectations. I don't even have to go through the details. Usually the expectation is a very common one: commitment, consistency, the three C's, right? Commitment, consistency, and what's the other one? Communication, and care, and capacity. Hell, just the list goes on and on and Christ-like. It just keep on building. But anyway, one thing reason why I think, and I was like, Lord, am I bitter? Am I becoming a bitter woman or something? I'm just checking in. Is when I really looked around about what it would take to invite him over or have him come over, because he already was trying to invite himself over. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? Mm-mm. Because I thought about what I had to prepare. Um, maybe new bedding, sheets, candles, romance. Because I'm a girly girl, feminine. I like ambiance. I think you guys heard me say this before. I love to decorate. I love to be in that. Oh, this is love, and all this. Blah, blah, blah. I can be very little girl like in that respect, right? And to know that I could do all of that Man, you already know what I'm about to say. And it's not worth it to give that much. And again, going back to being a giver, I like doing those things. My favorite was to say love language is acts of service. I like giving in that respect. But my good God, to give in that kind of way, to burn my good candles for my God, you know what I mean? Burn my good candles. You know, I don't know. I wouldn't say burn my electricity, but you guys get what I'm saying. Me put the effort. I guess that's what I'm saying. Put the effort into somebody who it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I'm just not in that space anymore. That man came into my life, and that's what we got to look at, ladies and gentlemen. What were you going through when, or when that person came into your life? If I have to come up here on this YouTube every freaking night, I don't. I hope I don't, y'all, and express myself in a live and run and what's it called? And just talk and talk and talk until I feel better, to avoid having the wrong or the bad company, not bad, but having wrong, being in wrong company, whether they come over to visit me or whether I go out to visit them, then I'm going to do that. hmm I'm going to make sure that I protect myself and keep myself safe. And again, I don't feel like logging in right now. So, yeah, I just don't feel like getting dolled up and blah, 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 and doing all that. But what I am saying is that if I happen to, and I think this is an important mention, I did say in closing, like what, an hour ago, I think it's an important mention to say, whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, regarding, let's say, no contact. I never could do the no contact. I tried to do the no contact, but I'm not. That's not a shot against myself. I just know I'm not built like that for whatever the reason. So I rebelled against it. Or I remember texting my ex until I just got tired. I'm one of them persons, I just got to, just like talking. I just got to keep doing until I get tired and be like, okay, then I'm done. Right? I expressed it. I got it out. I needed to release that part right there. I needed to get that off my chest and let that be that. And when you're dealing in a situationship or a relationship, whatever, any type, where you're constantly expressing your concerns, you're constantly, you know, knowing, and this is the key here for me, knowing that you're below your standard. There were some times in my life I didn't know I was below my standard. I just liked the person, they liked me, and it didn't work out, or they were cute and then they became evil, whatever, whatever the reason. But I had a struggling time with standard. I had a struggling time with standard. But as I've gotten older, what I really, really learned and learning as you get older is you can't get back physically. Spiritually, you can, but physically, you cannot get back the time that you lost or that you put into somebody. So when I think about my ex coming over here, I like connection too much. I like conversation too much. I like longevity in conversation. I like all those things, even if I just had a bestie or a companion. I want to, I guess I'm at that age, whatever. But even when I was younger, I liked the idea of a man just being like my friend. And if we're attracted to each other, that's cool too. It makes it more fun. But I never, I guess it's the Aquarius in me. I actually frown at, if you notice, I don't think I used the word, I did use the word commitment, but I would prefer consistency over commitment. I wouldn't care what the title is. Is it consistent? Well, you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if I was your wife. Are you consistent in keeping your word to me or keeping your word to yourself? Yeah, I got that title, but what's the point? Right? I got the commitment. You know, you may not cheat on me. You may be complete, but are you consistent in your word? That's important to me. A lot of people just would rather, oh, he doesn't, rather him just be committed. Not every man's perfect. Not every person's perfect. I can't stand when people say that, because that's a given, a duh. Thank you, Jesus, for who you are to for me. Of course I'm not perfect. Of course we're not. That's like, why even mention that? But yeah, so he won't be. I think sometimes we just gotta realize, as women, for those that may be still going through when it comes to situationships, you just gotta realize that you gotta accept it for what it is. And I think the sooner, you truly accept it for what it is, then you can get to the next level. You can give your own self closure. That man never gave me closure. Look how he's still texting me in the same freaking way he texted me 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He has not changed. He still is with the program that he's had all this time, but he can keep that program over there. Not mad at him, not resentful, not trying to make him pay. I went through all of them emotions, y'all. Went through all of that. Aquarius dark darker side is no joke. I've dealt with the Aquarius, my witchy part, to speak, if you will. I've dealt with that. I've already went there. And so once a situation is a burnout for me, let me say it that way, you know, and I know already going in what it is, and it's burns out, it's just burnt out. There's no rekindling anything. There's nothing you can do to, I wouldn't say fix it, because, you know, and it's not so easy to let those things go. It takes time. But if you look back over your life, if you're dealing with a situationship, and you got to give yourself some credit and say you are getting better. I think when people are, I said better, not bitter, y'all. I think people are reaching out, more now than ever to try to get answers and try to get through it and get over it. I would hope, even as a spiritual reader, that there are more people nowadays. This is just my optimistic hope, y'all, that there are more women who are saying, you know what? In fact, when I do reads out in Hollywood, majority of women that come to me, when I first started doing readings, there were more people about love, oh, can I get him to do this, or is he seeing, or whatever. But throughout the years, it's changed into, okay, what's going on with my career, my career path? I have an idea to do this. Should I go? It's more related to self-care, right? A lot of the women, or even the men, because love is love. Love is always going to be there. It's going to find us regardless. Genuine, true love. I'm not worried. I know I'm loved with or without a man. I thank God for that. I don't care. Out of all the crap I've endured in my life, I know that I'm loved. I know that. Can nobody? You could take many things from me. I was homeless for 6 years, sleeping in my van, off and on. Many things from me. My self-esteem was low, but I knew I was loved. You could have low self-esteem and still know that you're loved. Yeah. You can be insecure and still know that you're loved by God, number one, you know? So those things can be worked out. Yeah, self-esteem can rise, standards there's always room for improvement. Always room for improvement, you know? But I am done dealing with dumb men. I'm done dealing with people who are not sober minded. When I say that, I mean that literally and figuratively. I don't drink. I want to be able to have a glass of wine with folks and be okay. And even if I get drunk, it's a happy drunk. If that's the case, even if it happens, I don't want to be around people who can't hold their stuff, who can't hold their composure, who are, that's just me, because I guess my mind be thinking, what if an emergency happened or earthquake happened? Your silly ass is going, surely you try to get in the refrigerator instead of getting under the table or whatever, like I'm just tired of the silly stuff. It's really, a lot of it's silly jealousy is silly shit, silly stuff. That's my part where I have been fed up, with ignorant stuff, silly stuff. You know, yeah, I just don't want to entertain it. I'm not going to, because this what happened is, what will happen is, if I start entertaining the very thing that I know that doesn't have the capacity to hold the weight that I have, so to speak, right? Then I'm gonna just end up using people, using them like I'd be no different than them, using them in the place of, uh, and I know we all, if we're thinking from a high frequency, we all use one another. That's human nature. That's how we survive. That's how we get what we want in a good way. I'm not talking about, I mean, jobs use employees. You get what I'm saying? Generally speaking, literally, we use people to get to where we're trying to get to, not in a negative or narcissistic way. But if I turn to my faith to a man or people that I know that don't have the capacity, then, and I say, okay, well, what am I getting out of this? Like with the, to make it plain English, if it's just sex, ladies and gentlemen, can we not get that from anywhere at any time from anybody? Anybody's, and heavy on the anybody, the body part. That's what I'm saying. If you just take off their face and take, if you just close, for those that have to close their eyes anyway and do the do, and you're not watching or seeing their, then hey, you have from the neck down, or however, whatever doesn't give you the ick, focusing on that part of whatever, however it is. I don't know. Just saying, there are those situations too. People doing a do with people they're not even attracted to. People, men, women, you know, that they are. It is what it is. So I am tapped out with over pouring as the Aquarius that I am into. Imagine the Aquarius again. She has this big old vase. She pours out all that water behind her. She got more than enough. But boy, she keep on just pouring it and pouring it into people who their little vase is like a shot glass. and even as I say that, and even as I say that, I still feel a sense of sorrow and a sense of pity or a sense of like humbleness come over me, because the goal is not for me to think I'm better than anybody else. You know, it's for me not to look down like, oh my God, look at the peasants. That's really not my calling, my role, because part of my calling is acts of service. So I can never get to this place where I'm not, I enjoy what God has called me to do when it comes to being the giver who not only was homeless, but while I was homeless, I still fed the homeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always had a heart for people. So I'm not going to ever be so snooty, like, oh my God. But what I am going to be snooty about is people who come into my life and intentionally waste my time, who is sent from the devil or the pits of hell, so to speak, or literally whatever, and that is with the trickery and the foolery. You know, it's that really. And on a spiritual plane, it is so important for both ladies and gentlemen to be mindful. I don't necessarily believe in soul ties, by the way, but to be mindful of what you, in fact, my ex, he called me, called and text something he never, and he could have been drunk because people drunk text all the time. But I believe, and this is where y'all might think I'm not being sensitive, but where I guess I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about it later. But I do believe his mother passed away, and I did give my condolences. But the way I am spirit woman first, I'm not laying, and this was not too long ago. This was this year. I don't want to lay down with somebody and they're in grieving mode. I personally laid down with him when I was in grieving mode. So I noticed like the last thing you want to do is make a decision when you're in grieving mode. My case, it was over my son, you know, or any type of loss you have. So when I said earlier, look back on your life and say, how did I get involved with this person? What was I going through? That will give you a clear indication and insight of what you could have been going through, or why you chose what you chose. When I think about this man, I was homeless. I'm not homeless anymore. My wants, my needs, my desires have changed. I'm not looking for where I can park my van to get away from danger anymore. I am now going, okay, let me go ahead and enroll in school, and what's on the schedule? Should I log into CAM today? Or should I just climb back in bed? My priorities, my desires, needs, wants are changed. I'm coming out of survival mode into living. I'm not thriving yet, but good God Almighty. And so when we hook up with people and you know, have sex, bond with them, chill with them, break bread with them, whatever you want to call it, when you're in a situation or you're not feeling as good, a lot of the situations I look back over my life, there are two things to play in here for me personally. One, I was wounded in a few cases, but majority of the mistakes, if you will, that I made with the men that I chose or allowed them to quote unquote choose me was because they gave me a sob story. Oh, you know, I grew up in foster care myself. Oh, I just lost my job. Yes, that's the voice I'm using, y'all. Yeah, things are not working out. Whatever. Or I'm living with my mom now, but and it's like, okay. And I was naive and gullible. I admit that. Okay. Because when I look back over my life, I've been had my own place because I was forced to understand I would have to have my own place, being my circumstances, right? At 18 years old, right? So I've never had to, and this is not overly prideful. It's just that that was the training my great grandmother instilled in me. As quote unquote, as slow as I was, she made it a point, always have your own. She was like, this is the last stop. The last Mohegans is here, always have your own. And for years, I always had my own place. With or without the government services or help or support, that part is important, with or without them. Always been able to sustain, whether I get it or not, my own resources as it relates to someone coming in to live off of or to exploit it's just, yeah. Everybody got a story to tell. And this is my new saying. Everybody got a story to tell. If you got a testimony that's willing to tell that part of it. But yeah, I just have these moments, y'all. And I'm only speaking about it tonight openly live, but I have a lot of reflections, and so if I don't come here and I log and I don't come here and give you guys the tips, it's probably because I'm sitting on my couch having a chat with God, is what I call it, and reflecting and getting my mind right for the places and spaces I believe God is taking me. And again, we have to be mindful that the first, I think, thing we ought to want to have is not just of course, my faith is going to say a closer walk with God, but not only that, we ought to want to have just a better way of loving ourselves, self-love, self-care, whatever you want to call it, um, you know, self-protection, all things, with the help of our guardian angels, with the help of God's guidance, we can do that. I know I can achieve that. It's not about financial gain. It's not about, you know, me, even though I went and kind of like vibing in Beverly Hills, but it's not about that. At the end of the day, it's about what is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with self? The most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. And I'm just too damn over analytical, sometimes self-critical of the decisions I've made in the past to continue on. So one of my prayers is, Lord, give me discipline. Sometimes it's not a lack of us being ignorant. Sometimes it's just a lack of discipline. Sometimes it's about us just going, well, gosh, this man is making me feel so good in this moment. Well, what else can make you kind of, sort of, don't have to try to find it exact, because then you'll end up in the same situation with a different face. But what can kind of give you that don't have no attachment to another human being? Just go to a freaking Magic Mountain, or go to a freaking place where you can get on a roller coaster ride. If you, I won't do it anymore. I'm 49. I have vertigo too, so I ain't trying to be on no roller coaster ride. But my point is, get on the ride of your life. But not only that, but yeah, for those that can go to the theme park, because that's a dopamine hit. You can go dancing, you can go to the club, you can feel all of that. That's what I want to start doing. I want to start going out and dancing and stuff, and getting and having a man flirt with me. But I ain't gotta bring him home. Having me flirt with a man. Forget him flirt with me. Me flirt. Hey, you are so cute to me. You are so fine. Look at you with your whatever the hell. Whatever comes to my spirit, say it, and then be done with it. Because why? That's something that I like, giving compliments. It makes me feel good to give them. I don't just give them just because I want something from you. I already got it when, by the time a compliment came out of my mouth. Just like certain men, I already got the feel of it. I believe that there are certain men that, even if they don't get a chance to have sex with you, they are just happy to know, oh my God, I'm just glad this beautiful whatever crossed my path. Some men are okay with that. They understand that this woman is out of their league. I always get that confused. That woman is just too much woman for him, so to speak. And he leave it at that. He goes on about his business. I do believe there are men that are that way, but yeah, so finding the thing that brings you joy, happy, if you can't get to joy, at least get to temporary happiness, happiness, joy, satisfaction. Those things will come, later. And that's literally the mode that I'm in, is making sure that I stay clear of the people, again, going back to capacity, that they just don't have it, not because they don't want to have it, well, both. They don't want to give it, or because they can't give it. And I think the worst thing that you could do is be in a situationship with, or relationship, whatever, with anybody, and you have to come to that realization and that acceptance. Not everybody's going to get you, because they don't have the capacity to get you. Some, and deeply, or with more depth, I even learned when it comes to my relationship with God, is that sometimes God will close the ears, close the eyes, close the mouth, close the wallet, okay, of people, so that they don't hear you, they don't be generous with you. They're not. Sometimes God allows it, right? Is to redirect you. And I know that whole, God's, was it rejection is God's protection. That sounds good, but rejection, as we know, feels like crap. And sometimes we need to stop saying it, calling it rejection, because it may not be rejection. It could just be direction. It could just be direction and not protection, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes it doesn't mean that it was a danger. It just means that God allowed it, because it's like, no, I just got something better for you. That's all. I got something different for you. Just, it doesn't mean this person's an a-hole. They're jealous of you. It's just that I got something different. That's the stage I'm at right now in my life, where I looked at a situation. I was in a situation with me and my daughter, and I realized God, and He's bringing me out of it now. God closed the ears. He closed the eyes. He made them people ignore me. He allowed it, so to speak. It has to be. I'm huge on it has to be a reason. I'm a big person of everything happens for a reason, and a good reason, not a bad one. You know, like, everything is it's a good reason. It's a good reason that it doesn't work out. And especially when I think about my life and my own individual walk, I go, I haven't always choose what's best for me, or let what's best for me inside my life and inside my world. I haven't always done that. By no means necessary have I ever done that. So I have to be in a place and space where I understand that, yeah, there are more takers than givers. I used to say that even when I was in high school. I used to say there are more takers than givers, and it's the truth. And maybe I manifested that. I was just making an observation. I didn't want it to come and follow me and become factual. But anywho, on that note, I have my phone down. I'm not even looking at the chat. I'm just rambling like I've been for the last hour. But I'm grateful to come here and express. Um, if I ever get a notion to just come back on this late, I will. I mean, I'm saying this late because out here, I think it's like 9 o'clock, out here in Cali, but somewhere else it might be already 12 or 1 or something. But just know that everything's temporary. And if you have a desire is heavy. If you have a desire, not desperation, but just a simple, quiet desire, or loud, to change or have changes in your life, and you really want to get out of a situation, it takes courage. It does definitely take courage. It takes courage to just say, this is not for me. And then, even if you keep going, this is what I had to learn with my ex. Even while I kept going back, just like when I learned with this situation, I kept doing the reports, kept doing the incident reports. If you keep on talking, and God knows I know about talking, but if you keep on talking, pleading, almost damn near begging to be heard, to be seen, to be appreciated, to be loved, to be cared for, you are in the wrong. And I'm about to curse. You just like when they be like, I'm about to sneeze, about to curse. You are in the wrong fucking uh, presence of people that God did not assign for you to be around permanently. It is a temporary situation. It may be a situationship, and I don't care if the situationship lasted 20 years. According to God, that 20 years is 2 minutes. That's just how I like to believe it. 2 minutes. God was like, oh, that's just in 2 minutes. You're all, oh God. So what's the thing then? Is the for me the key is to not allow 20 years or the 10 years or the 6 years or the 8 years or the whatever, however long you spent on it to exhaust you to where you are losing yourself. And if you lose yourself, this is the place where you say, God, give me back me. Show me who you are with me. It's very personal. Show me who you are with me. How do you want me to do this? I'm in this business, as I'm in this job, as I'm in this situation, as I'm in, as I'm in whatever, going on this interview. It's me that's doing it. There's a part of scripture that talks about God has no respect of person, right? Which a lot of pastors and preachers get in the way of saying, like, basically saying that God treats everybody the same for the most part. That's the lack of getting to the point, right? But the truth is that it's all about what you believe. If you believe that you are specially made and set aside for your own specific purpose then you will walk in that awareness. And nobody, no devil in hell, no devil on earth can take that from you, even while you're exhausted, even while you're fed up, even while it didn't got on your damn last nerve, even while it hurts, even while you're in pain, physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, even confusion. That's how you know it's not of God, that part. And really, but if I would tell any of y'all to hear nothing else I'm saying, my biggest lesson to me is believe them for not even their actions, because people are like, actions speak louder than words. Not necessarily if they're a really great actor, that part. But not believing and giving people the benefit of the doubt because you have nothing to measure it to. I don't care how many promises they make, how eloquent or the lack thereof they speak, whatever they speak and drop into your ear, whether it's a business, whether it's whatever, everything is advertisement. Everybody on this planet to some degree is a salesperson. Somebody's always trying to pitch you on something, pitch you to get in your panties if you wear them or if you don't. They're trying to pitch you, oh, we got the best this. We're the better store. I don't know if you guys are familiar because everybody's from different states, but out here they have Vons, they have Rouse. Vons and Rouse, they have, what's it called? Target don't really have, Target and Walmart, right? It's always somebody saying they got the better deal. Only for you to keep coming back to them. Now, if you're getting your needs met, right, that part. Because sometimes we go back to situations just like Target or certain stores because it's a convenience store. That's why them convenience stores got the prices so high because they know you're paying because it's just around the corner, right? The liquor store, whatever you got going on. But then there's always a higher price to be paid for. Come on, help me, Jesus. There's always a higher price to be paid for when things are more convenient and easy, how you say, easy access or accessible to you. Every person is doing a sales pitch. Everybody, whether they mean to or not, children are really good at it. Just saying, I'll give you, what is his name from Popeye? He was the biggest one. What was his name? Wimpy. I'll pay you for 5 hamburgers today and pay you tomorrow for, what this little script was, right? People are always trying to pull a wimpy on you. And it's, I don't even think it's in a place of saying that, again, humans are bad. It's just that it's in our nature. And the fact that I know this is what gets me sometime with my neurodivergent, but the fact that I know it, cannot execute it. Like, I understand a lot intellectually. God, sometimes people are shocked. My therapist was, yes, y'all, my therapist. She said, you are so bright. And so you're intellectually getting it. Like, you got it. Like, you got this. And then because of other factors, maybe, or the way my brain receives information, it's like it goes out the window. It's like with my numbers. I can sit there and I'll finally get it. And after, it's finally stick in my brain, let's say 2 plus 2 is 4, and I finally got it, and I get ready for it, and I'm about to write it down. We're not even talking about test day, but I'm about to write it down on the paper, and I forget. And I'm like, dang it. So I love God for his grace and his mercy that he has over my life because I'm neurodivergent, or his leniency, I'll go as far as to say, right? Because some of us, now this may not be for everybody, but some of us don't know. Some of us are still figuring it out, right? Age is nothing but a number in that respect, right? We are just still figuring it out, and so that's where I'm at with y'all. It's just that, I've just been so shocked in the last couple of months, 4 months, of how just how my whole life has been, just not changing, but just revealing a lot to me. I've just had this overwhelming revelations of people and situations and circumstances. And again, the only thing that gives me peace or solace about it is knowing that God allows it. I'm like, okay, God, that'll work for me for now. That God allowed it. And because it's not, again, everything's temporary. Everything, everybody is temporary. And if you trust that God has better for you, whether you believe you deserve it or not, then you'll move over just a little bit. This is what I'm having to learn. I don't have to, it's hard for me because I'm a little bit stubborn too as an Aquarius, but it's hard for me to move completely out of the way regarding trust. But that mustard seed of faith, though, that's all you need. And so just moving over just a tiny bit. It's like, imagine sitting in a movie theater, right? And somebody is sit they big old butt or whatever in front of you, and you're like, damn, I can't even see. And guess what you might ask them? If you could just scoot over just a little bit, just tilt your head a little to the left, I'll be all right. I'll be able to see majority of the screen. I won't be able to see all of it, unfortunately. And that's how I feel when it comes to my walk with God. Like, okay, God, you know how I am. I'm not gonna move all the way. I'm not gonna, I'm a be still in the webcam model industry, Lord, okay? But you know, I'm not gonna get naughty on screen all the time. I'm gonna just tease him a little bit, and but it's that kind of thing. Like I'm just gonna just a little bit, not too much, not too heavy, and I'll be okay. And so thank you so much. I see you guys. Thank you so much, Patty. So I'm just in that place of just really uh m- moving out of the way, really, and letting God. Today I wrote down some of the things that I was about to write in my journal. I was writing in my calendar, and I went to write in my journal, and I felt this inspired thought. I knew it came from nobody but God, and it was this: don't before you begin to write down, because I was about to write down my needs. And because sometimes when we're writing down our wants, we can stop in the middle and go, oh my gosh, okay, but I want that, but it's going to take me to do this. I got to do that. You'll throw your whole momentum off in the writing, and the inspired thought or inspiration that you had to even begin to write. It'll throw it off because you're like, damn, how am I going to do that? So as I began to write down, I heard, the Spirit say, you don't worry about what you need. Just worry, just not even worry, but just write down what you want and leave the needs to me. I said, say less, Jesus. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, okay. It was really that. And I began to just write. Just write down what you want. Don't write down what you don't want. Don't write down how you're going to get it done. Don't write down, oh God, don't even think, Lord, I tried this before. All that can come up because, we're in our flesh. God, I didn't already try. I don't care what situation it is. You're in a situation with a person, that it ain't working out. What would you want? And you can't, and this is the trick, so to speak. You have to eliminate that actual factual person, in my opinion. Some people may not agree with that, but as a spiritual you know person who would like people to stay the course, myself included, I had to learn I cannot get that from them, but really write down what it is that I want in general. And certain things you got to speak in generals. Certain things you got to be like, okay, if I get too detailed about it, it's gonna cause self doubt. If I want a guy who is, if I start going, he has to be 6 feet. He has to, make this amount of money. He got to have green eyes. He got, I'm just saying, he got to look like Rick Fox. Yeah, I mean, the young Rick Fox, and right before he retired, or Fox, guys, what I'm saying. Even now, he still looks, he's pretty attractive. But anyway, or whatever it may be. And so if I want that kind of guy, I have to eliminate some. Okay, so he doesn't have to be. In fact, when I saw Rick Fox, I think he played in one of Tyler Perry's movies. I forget what it's called. I think it's Good Deeds. No, those that have the have. It was one of them where with Angela. I was supposed to say Angela Winbush. With what's her name? Angela Bassett, right? And I noticed how tall he was. I think he's like 6'6". I was like, I don't know if I want to. I'm 4'11". Nah, he's handsome and he's my type per se, but I don't think. But so is I, just for the sake of colorism. If so, I can put this out in the universe. I don't care what color a man is. He just has to have beautiful skin. I love a man with really, really nice skin, with nice features. I mean, and a beautiful smile. Oh my gosh, they call it the Colgate smile back in the day. But if they're too tall, I've been with extremely tall men. And in fact, I went to the club. I don't ever go to the club. This particular time, I think it was my birthday years ago. And I was dancing with, I think he was 6'7". And you know what I think, you guys? When I hear the real naughty part of yours truly, when I'm dancing or around a really, 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 really tall guy, and me being 4'11", when I think of Shaq and what's her name, his ex-wife, I just always think the sex. I'm, man, God knows me, okay? 69 is one of my favorite positions. Nobody is never going to know that. Nobody's going to listen to this live is to know that. But that is one of my favorite positions. And yet so therefore, if I'm 4'11", you're 6'9", or you're 6'5", or even 6 feet is a struggle. Yeah, no. I'm not saying I don't even know. It's going to be half and half, or I get first, you get second, you do. I don't know. I don't know. But then those are the things that I know matter to me. God knows that about yours truly. That matters to me. Chemistry. I don't want anything to be in the relationship that would cause conflict or frustration, right? Unnecessary frustration. I'd be frustrated as hell. Like, dang, you can't fit on my bed. You freaking legs are hanging off like half. It's almost like your legs are still touching the floor, although you're all the way up, up in the bed. I personally think it would be a mismatch, but then probably send me that exact guy just like that, just to show that he's God. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I didn't think it could, but okay, God. And that's not a place of settling. That's not in other words, if he happens to be 6'7", it's not a deal breaker for me. God knows that. It's just a preference kind of thing, right? So as it relates to writing things down, and writing things down and getting those things out of your heart onto paper, not out of your mind, right? Because when your mind get involved in it, then that's when you start seeing doubt and, oh, this can't be, or whatever. But get your heart. What does it look like? To dream big, to dream out loud, to just write it out. This is how I look at my dreams. Sometimes my visions that God has given me. Number one, I say, God, I believe this is from you, so I shouldn't have no shame about it. That's number one. Number two, when we are writing our things down, it's intimate. It's just you and God, your guardian angels, your team is with you, is what I'm saying. Your spiritual team is with you. So this should be a place where you just free fall. You just get busy. You're not even making a vision board, really, because it's not like, and I can see if it was a vision board, because then you got people that'll walk in and see your board, and, I don't know, put bad energy out there, anything along them lines, right? For those that believe in that. But if you're writing in your journal or your diary or whatever people do, and it's intimate, and you're writing it down with a childlike heart, yeah, it's a sweet place that journal is going to be protected. You put it away, and you have that. So when I got to writing down my wants, I had to really, I dare say it this way, but I had to really fight against not allowing self-doubt to come in. Even as I'm writing what God said, write down what you want. And a lot of people are afraid to do that because it's like we live in a society where religion has played a huge part. Parent, whoever your parents, whatever your upbringing, to where it has put you in a position where you can't want that. Like I tell people all the time, I walked into the Beverly Hills, Beverly Center in Beverly Hills, went into the Louis Vuitton store on accident. Well, I got on the floor on an accident and then decided to go into the Louis Vuitton store. First time ever, again at 49 years old. And I prayed before I went in there because I was nervous as hell to go in there with only just $100 on my person, right? Walked in there not because I wanted to really buy the bag. I just wanted to do it because I was told when I was a child that I would not be ever able to. Who the hell do I think I am to even have such a desire to want nice things? And mind you, when I felt the bag and everything, I'm like, I'm just not excited. I wasn't excited. I didn't say that because I don't want to be insulting, like I said before, and when I talked about it with you guys before. But my point is that a lot of times you never know somebody's story. You never know what it is. But if you have that intimate time with God where you're actually sitting down, it's just you and God. It's just you and your guardian angels. You're in a protective energy, a protective field. I would go as far as to say there is a bubble of love around you. I'm going to go there. And you ought to be able to sit down and write out everything you've ever wanted to do from your childhood up into your adulthood, and just keep writing till your little hands start hurting, whatever it is, or cramping up if you're like got the little arthritis or whatever. But you write and you leave the needs up to the universe and or God. And that was a lesson for me today. I'm like, man, okay. Because I've been so used to doing it all myself. I've been so used to doing it all myself to where even when I write, I'm writing out a plan A, B, C, D. If it fails, I'm gonna do this. I already like if it fails, I'm already with that mindset because so many times in my life things didn't always go my way. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna prepare this time. I'm gonna write this and this and this and that. But if I look at it from I would say from a God's perspective, a God's principle, is like, no, still want what you want, right? Leave out the doubt. Because now you're adding the doubt into the mix. And if you think about laws of attraction, now you're going to get what you put that in the mix. If you put doubt in, you're going to get things to be more doubtful for. So it's just, for me, I'm learning it's practice. It's really practice. And it's also return to self. I'm at that stage right now in my life where I'm like, Lord, I can't believe it, gosh. And again, this is the part where people become bitter because when God was, this is what I believe, is when people become bitter because when God was, spirituality was, guardian angels were, a soft whisper in the wind was, whatever you want to call it, ancestors were whispering to you to go for it. Do it, baby. Do it any damn way. Dare to be different, whatever. You didn't do it. You were afraid, or no, because it's not. It's you could be afraid. That's what I've learned. You could be afraid and still go. You can be afraid and still do it anyway. But to allow people to have such an influence on you, people, mind you, people. Not God, not spirituality, but actual other human beings, right? That if you will, and I'm gonna say this, y'all, it may sound a little, but little sting, I guess, supposedly, but at least this has been my revelation. Allowing people who had a lower frequency, I'll put it that way, than I have, having those people dictate and give their opinion of how they believe that my life should go. When I looked at their life and go, they're not even living that, not even a hint. Because even with the things that, in other words, even with the things I come here and so-called teach on regarding webcam models, I do show up sometimes to cam. I do reach my goal majority of the time. I may not be reaching it every day, like, and again, the job is about consistency, right? Or anything you do in life. So at the end of the day, I'm just like, man, it's about believing a little bit in what you want, not focusing on what you don't want. It's cliche. For those that don't know, even this morning, as much as I'm a believer, I still listen to, I won't even say follow, Abraham Hicks's teachings because I get it. That I get. I understood that since I was a child. For those that know, regarding Abraham Hicks. And so when it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, like you gotta have a little bit of faith, and you have to leave out everything that says what you can't have, you know, and the company you keep. And I keep telling this to myself. When I look at the last, I'm gonna say, Jesus, I'll go as far as say the last 20 years, y'all. Unfortunately, the last 20 years of my life, it's been the company I kept for around too long, trying to quote unquote rescue other people when I was probably the one needed rescuing in some degree, right? It's just an amazing awakening for me. It really is. It really, really freaking is. Because I'm like, mm-mm. This stuff is amazing once your eyelids or your third eye or your fifth eye, whatever the hell, gets pulled back, and you're able to see things and see people. In my case, I have to see people for who they are, or I'm gonna keep on going through this BS. I have to see organizations, right, for what they are, jobs, and it doesn't matter what it is, whatever, whether it's an entity, a people, place, or thing. See it for what it is, accept it best as you can for what it is. Ask questions to God, the universe, your therapist, in many cases too. Sometimes the therapists don't know, so it's really good idea to have um, a relationship with self and God, to just have that emotional uh, comfort, even while you're afraid, even while you're a bit confused about the next step or what to do. It's still a good idea to say, okay, but as long as I know you're with me, God, as I know I have guardian angels that are with, as long as I know my ancestors are guiding me, as long as I know I have a guidance somewhere along in another realm somewhere, somebody's looking out for me, right? That kind of mode. I'll be okay. I'll be all right. I don't get it now. I don't want this now. Why am I in this situation? All that stuff. But the desire will outweigh the confusion. The desire for change will outweigh everything else that I trust and that I believe. I've always had a desire to get better. That's where it starts. Do you have a desire to get better? I don't give a damn what it is. If you have the desire, God will give you the desires of your heart. He'll meet you where you're at, and you're going to get your good stuff. You're going to get that either good man, good people, good partner, whatever it is that you're going after. And for me, my biggest thing is is just continue to walk in whatever room and space that I'm in, and go in there with a knowing that God sent me there to simply deliver, even without using my words, God's perfect love. That's it. That's all. If God didn't put me on this earth to do nothing else, I know I'm really, really, really learning how to get good at less is more with what I speak. Not necessarily actions, but the energy that I carry, that presence that shows up in a room where there are demonic forces, or there is haters and there is jealousy. It doesn't mean I have to stay there, because they're gonna throw them stones. I don't gotta stay in the midst of it. But that if I happen to have to walk through, again, going back to all things happen for a reason. Everything in your life has been in your life to build character. This is what I firmly believe. I've had to go through what I went through so that I can know what it's like to sit in rooms where people not agreeing with me, but still get the job done, because I'm on a mission. They don't have to like me in order to do what it is that God has put. You get what I'm saying? There are people that God can have be your help, that they don't like you. God could be, they could be what it is that you need for that moment. And then you got to just be able to know the difference and say, okay, they're helping me. That doesn't mean they're my friend. Oh my God, they're helping me. They're being here for me. Well, they look like it. They're acting like it. They're giving to me. They're pouring into me. No, they're not. They're there for a particular reason, and it's going to be up between you and the relationship that you have with self and God to determine, God, is this for a long time or a short time? Am I going to be on this job for 2 years or just 2 weeks? What do I need to learn in this first week, God, before I hightail it out of here? Are you teaching me discipline to stay? Because I don't believe I serve a God that's going to just let you sit in something where you're miserable. Where, oh, it's about sacrifice. I personally don't have a relationship like that with God. I don't know about nobody else, but my relationship with God is my life is getting easier, not harder. I'm not going to go through any more quote unquote sacrifices. We're not doing that. You know, me and God have that agreement. At least I finally answered, accepted God with in that respect. He's always been trying to make my life easier. Always God has been that way. I didn't believe it and I didn't sense it and know it based on who I was talking to or who was sitting in front of me. Because based on their relationship with God, well, God is, God is going to test you. I don't believe God test us. If you look through the Bible, anybody read it or listened to it, anytime for the most part that I can remember where there was a lot of tests going on, it was people working through the enemy working through people to test Jesus when he got the woman, when they were going to stone her for adultery. They tested him there to see what he was going to do because she was breaking the law. He was tested in the wilderness by Satan. It was a lot of tests that were going on, but I personally don't believe God put me through tests because he knows me to. I wouldn't do that to my children. I know God is different, has different parenting skills, so to speak, than what I would have. Get me? We sometimes compare God to us being human because that's the way we could understand in our human mind. But even with that, I have to trust that the love, it always goes back to love. The love that God has for me, he's not going to put me through no tests. People talk about karma. Oh, you're back here to learn a lesson. And I joke about it sometimes. So maybe I'm going through this because my third life or fourth life, I really, really was messed up. All those things. But bring it to present day, no. I don't believe that God will put me personally through any more test. I think the testing is man that does that. I think testing comes from the narcissist. I think testing comes from people who, even in a good place, when you go and get hired at a job, they will test you to see if you. I think even McDonald's got like a 5 hour, excuse me, a 5 hour orientation. Like, how much do I need to know to flip burgers and good morning, welcome to McDonald's? Like, but they have a psychological test, I think, even at McDonald's. They take you through all these tests to see if you're best suited for the job. I do not believe that that's what God is doing for me. He might have tested everybody else, but I don't think that's the calling he has for me, to continuously prove that I am worthy or that you're worthy or that you're good or that you can do this. And I'm not trying to be funny, Lord, but I just think that seemed like a little bit of wasted time. Like, so I realize I'm coming out of that stage of where God has testing me, whatever. And now I'm going back into, wait a minute, not testing. God don't need to do that. God is actually hiding me away, right? If I allow him, he will hide me away. Even in, what's it called? Even in broad daylight, God can hide you away. And to me, that's a beautiful place to be. In other words, when I'm sitting with my exes and I never felt like I was heard from them, it's because God closed their ears. He hid me away in that moment. You're sitting up there telling that man or that person, but I love you. But I love you. I don't know. Whatever people, whatever the thing is that where you need to feel whatever you need to feel in that moment. And they're on their phone or, taking another sip of alcohol or lighting up a blunt or, they're not there with you. Like you can sense it, you can feel it, And I like to just simply believe that this is a place where God is just hiding you away. Where God is saying, I'm not gonna let them, understand nothing you saying. I'm not gonna let them, I'm not testing you. I'm not even testing them per se. I'm just gonna let this thing run its course. And when you finish, in my case, when you finish people pleasing and finish thinking you could do a better job than me, because some of my stuff I was getting beside myself. Well, God, if you're not going to do it, then I'm just going to do it myself. That part. And now I'm just like, okay. The worst thing we can do is for those that are believers is when anytime you can't sleep, you can't eat, you're caught up with a man or woman or partner or person. Anytime you're caught up in this stuff, that is a form of worship where this person has your undivided attention, where they run to you, excuse me, where you call them and I mean, they call you and you pick up the phone and all that stuff. That is a form of submission and or worship towards that person, and it is literally a version of also, you guys know I'm gonna go there because I'm in the business of S&M, you know. And again, like I did my video on Code, if you don't really like pain, which I do not. I mean, I'm surprised I got the tattoos that I have, and I'm gonna get more because I'm extremely sensitive to pain. You know, I can even hold emotional pain pretty good, better than I can physical. I'm just saying in that regard, but any type of pain. So it's just something for me to sit here and just kind of go through for those that are still listening or here, I don't know. And I'm glad I had this chat with myself and whoever came through because it was important. And I would encourage more people to just sit with themselves, whether you click the live button or you're a content creator or not, and just really have an intimate, sweet, open dialogue, non-judgmental. Oh, I can't say that enough. Not even judging yourself. Conversation with God and say, God, what's up? What's up? You know, oh, I'm trying to do better, God. Oh, help me to do better. Because if not, you'll put yourself in a continuous situation where you're angry, you're mad, and then you don't want it to get to a point where you didn't messed around and did something real, real bad to either hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, be it physical or emotional, whatever, when it can be avoided to some degree. And so the greatest way that I think God is helping me to avoid getting myself into trouble is to remember who I am with Him. Is to remember where I come from in my childhood all the way up to this present day and remember how He has covered me, hid me away, helped me bounce back. I'm resilient, most would say, still closed in my right mind. I'm kooky, but I'm not crazy. All of that to be considered. Also diagnosed BP. I talked about it before. You guys notice I don't talk about spinning my wheels on being bipolar because I'm going to go back and get a different diagnosis soon enough because, yeah, it depends on where you're at, I think. To some degree, it really does how things show up in you, even if it quote unquote runs in your family. It may run through my family, but it's going to escape from me. You get what I'm saying? It's not going to hinder me. Jennifer Lewis is another person who has BP too, and she let that. She's an Aquarius too, right? So nothing can stop us. We're all the way up. I don't care what mental diagnosis you got. I don't care if it's depression. God will meet you right where you're at when if it comes to depression. He will. He'll just show up right there. If all you can do is just sit up in your bed, not even sit out of the side of the bed or brush your teeth, God will sit right there next to you. I'm a living, breathing witness of it. And I believe because I know that and that principle, I rarely get depressed. I rarely do. And some might argue, oh, it's because it's a chemical thing or because it's this, it's because it's that. Like even being bipolar too. That's why I said I have to be mindful about what we say we are because the truth is, me being happy should not be equated to me being hyper. Now I understand if I'm impulsive, but if I could be impulsive and have there's a difference between impulsive and being inspired. They're different. They show up differently. So again, going back to self-awareness, you got to be careful what people title you as, because even when I understood about or understanding about psychological or psychology and diagnosis, when you talk about systems, a lot of these systems are designed to basically make more money. you know Better help. I promote therapy 100%, but at the same token, it's not a trend. If you need the help, make sure you definitely go speak to somebody, for sure, but also understand, don't be so quick to agree because it's based on where you're at. The test that they do is based on where you're at in that moment. I got my diagnosis when I was homeless. I don't know if I take the test again, if according to a psychiatry or psychology, if I'll have the same score, because that's what they base it on. It's a score. system, how you're ranked as being, diagnosed with this, that, and the other. And so it may be different today. I might, I joke around a lot and say I might even have split personality or mood disorder. But again, I'm happy. I mean, that's life. We're all happy. That, what do they say? If that's the case, the whole damn world is bipolar. The weather's bipolar. The animal, everything in this realm got mood issues. So I can't rely. That's why I don't talk about it often, because I can't allow that to be the front ground of my identity. The main thing that people will hear me mention: I was a foster child, raised by my grandmother, and I've been getting migraines since I was 11 years old, or how I've been in this business. That's my theme, so to speak. But to go into diagnosis, I'm an SA survivor. I don't plan on really diving deep and keep on talking about. No, I'm a narc survivor, right? I'm a survivor of many things. I was in a very traumatic, and I used a car accident earlier as an example, but I've been in 5 car accidents, and I was never the driver. And that last one did a real doozy on me, you know? So there's a lot of things that I know the life I've lived is connected to trauma. It is connected to that, but that's not my leading identity. I'm not going to carry that as a badge. I'm not going to carry my pain, my trauma, what a man didn't do for me, whatever. I will vent about it while I'm in it. I'll talk about it, but I'm not going to, we're not staying there. That's not where I live. I might stay there and spend the night, a few nights, and carry an overnight bag into the situation, so to speak, if you get my drift. But I'm not, this is not the resting spot of talking or over talking about what somebody did, how somebody dogged me or hurt me or no, 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 not over here. It happened and it happens, but also I can take accountability, and also I can say, okay, God, how do I get better with this? Because no, 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 no. We not because I'm too old to be doing it. No. You're never too old or too young is to get it. You know? So only thing that I could ask myself moving with Lord, return me back to what you created or started in me before everything got all crazy, before every distraction came about. What were you, knock knock God, what were you about to do in me before I decided to trust them over what you were showing me, or putting them as I was speaking about earlier, making people your God? You know, it's just and it's a lesson, right? It's a character building thing, really. And so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, okay, God, teach me, show me. That's what's up. I can only get better. We can only get better if we want it, if we have that deep desire to. So, yeah, I'd rather have, when it comes to relationships and men, I'd rather have, I'm going to use a wild number. I'd rather have 1,000 exes, and people thinking that I have commitment phobia than to spend what's it called, my whole rest of my life with somebody with one somebody that is, who is, I know, not good for me. I don't mean to be over the top, what's it called, selfish, but I don't mind these days of going down the checklist, going next, next, next. Nope, not him, not it. Nope, nope. Nah, no, nope, nope. And that's okay. We have every right to be picky. You know, we have every right to be picky. You have every right to want to live a satisfied life. Not a perfect one, but a satisfied one, or it's about as good as you can get close to satisfaction. You know, satisfaction guarantee. Call me. But anyway, I'm done rambling. This was good for my soul. For those that tune in, I hope it was good for you too. All is well. God is with us. And we're going to get our stuff. Write it down. Write what you want, not what you don't want. Write what you want, and then just get up from the table, literally. Don't sit there thumping the pen on the book, talking about now let me see, how am I gonna go about doing this? Write it down, close the book. Well, there it is. There it is, God. I did it. You told me to write it down. And God will lead us to let us know if there is a plan. He'll say, well, go back to the book and I want you to write down this, right? But just write it down, leaving that, mind you, he may not ever tell you, or it may be months, or who's to say, even a year. But it's like, and you'll think that it was forgotten, and then God will bring it back to you. And like, damn, I remember I did have that idea. Now is the time. Now is the time. In fact, when I think about praying or having a show for my a show, having Sunday prayer for my webcam models, that thought came to me, I would say at least 10 or 15 years back. The thought passed my mind. And I said, nah, God. I thought it would be insulting to God to do it. And here it is. It's laid right back on my heart again. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes God will allow things to be put on hold because the receiver of it, who's really going to receive it, they haven't shown up yet. They haven't gotten to, you know what I mean? It hasn't. It's about making that connection, or making that, what's it called, network or whatever. They haven't tuned in. I hadn't created the that mode yet. Still had to go through some things. And so whenever I do start it, it's going to be a place of, I will have more to give, if you will, without overwhelming anybody, I guess. But it will be simple. I think I don't think it'd be that extreme or deep. It's not to lead, if you will, anybody to Jesus. And even though I'm a believer, that's probably the main goal. But I've been there before. I've been there where I was an evangelist. I was a praise and worship leader in a church. I was minister's monster, more likely wife. I know it, but I also know that there is a special place. I don't care what nobody says, man. There is a special place for women like us with the heart of God that's connected to us. I truly believe that, you know, even while we're still doing it and doing it, you know, a lot of people promote, how can you do this? God is not going to bless no mess. And again, I keep stressing it. I don't know why I'm still here. Maybe it's somebody that come through that needed to hear it. I have no idea, or maybe it's just me constantly needing to just hear God speak through me in this moment and say that I am the example, without even trying to be, of what God's mercy, grace, favor, love shows up onto a woman like yours truly. I say that humbly, with humility, not out of being grandiose, because again, and I say it often, we all have a story to tell. I don't even have to tell the details of the story, right? Just the knowing that where I'm at right now, currently, and the business that I'm in, and the women that are still women that are, you know, walking the blade, 304s, whatever, there is a special, I know that with everything in my soul, there is a special place with God for women like us. And some might say, well, of course, because God did allow concubines back in the day, but even deeper than that, I think. I'm just waiting for God to reveal a little bit more. That's all. I really am. There was, I had a thought the other day of like, well, actually, I won't share that right now. I won't even share it. Thank you, God, for putting that on pause. But I will say, yeah, there is a special place for women like us with God's perfect love. And he definitely has his hands on us, for sure. I know he has his hands on me. In fact, my daughter often says, like I said, regarding her even thinking about being a part of the business, she says, Mom, I don't even think I could ever, and mind you, I've never promoted or even asked my daughter to, it's just a conversation that we've had. And she says, Mom, what I noticed? I could never do it like the way you've done it, because God has given you that grace. She often says it. She goes, it just wouldn't work out the same way for me. So I think that again, we all all this stuff is happening for a reason, and I just believe that there's so many women in the industry that have been forgotten, who feel like God's forgotten them, who feel like God has that other women are better than them, or more equipped to be. And when I think about the Proverbs 31 woman, right? Um, I used to want to try so hard to achieve that. And I won't say it's one extreme or the next, but when I think about it, is that there are some Proverbs 31 women who execute it beautifully. It's still not the traditional, quote unquote, traditional woman. Yeah. But then when I thought of Proverbs 31, I used to say, well, I'm not her. But then when I looked at the attributes of the Proverbs 31 woman, I said, I do. I have attributes of her. Even if some people would think of me as being the biggest WHORE in my personal life, if they thought of me as being a SLUT or easy, I'm just saying, just this the truth, right? People do call people names. It is what it is, you know. And yet, and still, God has, again, in my belief system, a special sweet spot or sweet place for those women, because even in all of that, there are still uh, they still have virtue, is what even what I want to say, or attributes of the Proverbs 31 woman. So yeah. But again, God is amazing. I love him. He loves me. It's all love in the air. And I'm done. That's it. That's all. God loves you. Whoever needed to hear that. I like to believe whatever I said tonight drew you in a little closer to believing that He does love you. And wherever you're at right now, you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to have been already arrived. And unfortunately, it's sad that the church or Christianity teaches you have to have already cleaned up yourself in order to present yourself to know. I can't tell you how many times I've prayed while a man was on me and in me, and I still prayed, not because he was RAPEing me, but because I just knew spiritually, Lord, I don't want this no more. I don't, God, it's not I don't want the sex. I just don't want this spirit around me no more. This ain't conducive to what Lord. And I start praying, right? And I mean, enjoying myself, but then pray after, pray before, pray during. I'm a huge fan of pray before, during, and after. So yeah, that part or whatever. Anyways, you guys, again, bye for now. One love kisses. You guys will hear me or see me in the next one. Hey, I thought I ended it. Duh. I can't see. I don't have my glasses and it's in the dark. Da-da-da-da-da.